Hi everyone, I'm Mandy Dwight, founder and CEO of Dwight & Company, also host of ROS Goss, this podcast that you're listening to today. I'm joined today by some fantastic industry colleagues, Joyce Sidopoulos, who is the co-founder and COO of MassRobotics, Marita McGinn, who runs the Accelerator Program here, as well as wearing many other hats here at MassRobotics to support the companies. Thank you so much for joining me today for the podcast. You know, we sit down all the time and talk, and we figured that today we would sit down and just kind of get some of these conversations on tape for everybody. So thanks again.
Thank you for having us, and your expertise and the talks that we do have are always very fruitful for us, so thank you.
Oh, no problem,
Yeah,
no problem.
That's exciting.
Well, it's funny, like I always come here and I'm talking to startups, I'm meeting with you guys, we're strategizing, we're talking about all the different ways that we can support the industry as colleagues coming together. And, I thought we'd sit down today and just really kind of talk about some of those things, especially where we have all of these different parts changing right now. And, it's our role in this industry to really support companies now more than ever. So, and that's something that I'll get to that in a bit, but that's something that we kind of were throwing around when we talked the other day, and it was kind of the common theme was now more than ever. But let's back up the truck. So, MassRobotics, like we take for granted that MassRobotics is like a thing that exists and has kind of always been here. And but that's not true. Like it was an innovative idea, and it was the first of its kind. And I can say that as an outsider, the first of its kind. But Joyce, you were here day zero. Tell me all of the stuff.
So really it was, you're saying the time is now, the time was then.
Yeah.
So the cluster, which was being run at Mass TLC at the time, started. The cluster had been meeting for over a dozen years, and Tom Ryden was one of the cluster co-chairs. I was working for Mass TLC as the cluster manager and managing, kind of hosting things every other month, a summit once a year. And it just, between like 2010 and 2011, 2012 to 2013, it seemed like it was like a hockey stick, people joining the cluster. So a group of us got together and we said, the time is now. We have to have our own space, our own meeting place, a way to help startups who need all of these very physical assets and very, cost, it's cost prohibitive to not have a machine shop, and, everything costs so much money. Hardware costs a lot of money. So how can we start something that is a gathering place where we all have these shared resources? Right. So that kind of kicked it off, and then the cluster met many times within probably 6 months. How do we build this? Who are the service providers? Who is going to pay for this? How are we going to get startups? And so it kind of all came together within a year, and it was a lot of work. But It does seem like it's always been here now.
I know. I mean, and maybe that's like because I'm a Boston person, like you guys are kind of just walking out the day, oh, hey, it's MassRobotics. They've always been here. So what year was that? Remind me again. So
we actually incorporated in 2015. But it was a couple of years before we got funding and got our, got the space, and people were lining up actually to move in. So when we first opened up, it was less than 6 months, and we had 18 companies here.
Wow.
And we said, oh my gosh, we're going to run out of space soon. And then we were able to secure this second floor. And by the time we moved down here, we already had over 30 companies.
Oh, wow.
So what kind of started as a Massachusetts, a place for people coming out of universities and starting companies, to come to now it's pretty much global.
Yeah.
A third of our companies are not from the United States; they're from overseas.
That's
right,
wild.
and another third are from other parts of the United States. Wow. So really, only a third of our companies are now from Massachusetts. So it kind of just happened.
Wow.
It was the time was right.
Yeah, and for me, this neighborhood is very nostalgic because all the robotics. So for those of you that don't know, this is a section of South Boston, which all the robotics companies came early and just started here. Now it's a little bit cost prohibitive, and you help the companies still stay here by, providing them a place. But every time I walk through this neighborhood, it's so special because all these robotics.
You were there with Rethink.
I was there. I have some old friends back
Right.
there in the lab that I know. They may be red. But yeah, you're right. And before that, Aldebaran Robotics, you have a now
Right.
when you walk in the front door. So, I mean, this is such a special place. And then Marita, I mean, you joined for the interesting thing is you joined for another sector of growth. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. Well, before I get into that, I want to mention how I met Joyce.
Oh, yes.
And the power.
This is true ROS Goss right here.
No, this is we might as well get into some nice gossip.
Yes.
I met Joyce 6 or 7 years ago when I was running a Techstars Air Force program. So I was running an accelerator, which we'll get to in a minute, which is kind of my gig here at MassRobotics. But Joyce was a mentor, and I met her and Tom, and I just always was like, wow, those two are just amazing. And just really, you could tell, I kind of latched onto this term founder first pretty early in my career. And I just think Tom and Joyce just exemplify what it means to be founder first. And I just wanted to mention that because you're talking about the beginning days. And I remember the ribbon cutting of this second floor. And I was working at Techstars at the time. And it's just really cool. I always knew I wanted to work with you. And it's just awesome that we're here.
Well, my story for her is when we were looking for an accelerator director. At home, I have this taped list of people I want to work with.
I'm picturing the spider webs of
and her name was on the list. So when Tom's like, we might get this funding for this accelerator, I'm like, I know the person. I went to my thing. I put a little check next to it.
Yeah.
And I remember when we were hiring you, I was on vacation and we were calling each other from Singapore.
But I knew, so I pivoted back into this sort of entrepreneur support organization, ecosystem work, after I was at Silicon Valley Bank, which had its big sort of upset. And then I took a real break. What do I actually want to be doing in my career? And I wanted to get back into real deep tech, robotics and sector specialized companies. I think technical founders are they're just really unique.
Yeah.
They require different things, but they also are sort of just built differently. There's no sort of ego, which we'll get into later too. But anyways, I'm sort of going all over the place. But here's the why I'm here at MassRobotics. So I built our accelerator program. It was a 2-year-long program that was funded by the state of Massachusetts. Really unique. Most accelerator programs are pretty expensive. They take 6 to 8% equity in participating companies.
That's a lot.
It is a lot when you're thinking about an exit plan for a startup, and that's founders' equity, so it's really precious. But this program was really unique. It was equity free, and we actually funded each startup with $100,000 from the state of Massachusetts. And the entire premise of our accelerator was 3 months long, in person, 10 companies a year, was to really help mold these technical founders into being awesome salespeople. Shameless plug to Mandy. She came in and did sessions with both of our cohorts to really talk about the importance of following up, the importance of relationship building. Building a company is not a transactional experience. And I'm happy that we had your guidance for our startups for that. That's what I've been sort of up to at MassRobotics. I'm really passionate about helping technical founders get out of their own way when it comes to engineering and over-engineering in many ways. And I think we do a good job with that at MassRobotics.
Yeah, we talked, Joyce, you mentioned you had 18 companies and 30 companies. What type of companies are part of the MassRobotics ecosystem?
So that's a great question. Really, we have companies that so robotics is really going to disrupt all industries.
I'll agree.
So we have companies here, we do have a no competition policy. So all of our companies, over 100, do not compete. So that just tells you that there's 100 companies here working on things that don't compete with each other.
That's wild.
So they're covering industries from, manufacturing, defense, and logistics are really the top 3. And those are the top 3 that have been funded. But in a close second is healthcare, agriculture, and construction. And those are really starting to get adopted. So those are the next 3. And then machine learning, almost all of them use machine learning and AI and physical AI. So the big hype on AI, it's something that most of our robotics companies have been using.
For a long time.
For a long time, right. But now it's just getting better and faster and and easier to get the data you need. And so that's also why robotics is accelerating. But our companies are everything from a professor that's spinning out of a university that's looking to hire his first hire, to people from industry who see a problem that they know they can solve with robotics, and they want to have a place to kind of build that. So the age ranges from 23 or 22. I think we had a 20-year-old once, right?
Yeah, we did
In
have
the
to
accelerator.
check their drinking age for our happy hours.
So we had, they go from 20 to, oh my gosh, probably 80.
Yeah.
Or 75 to 80. And they start, and they're companies from a really early stage who are building their first prototype to those who are figuring out how to go to manufacturing and production. So it's really a wide range, which makes for awesome conversations in the kitchen and at happy hour, and they're all helping each other because they're all, this guy's been there, that guy hasn't yet. All of them, how did you hire? What type of people did you hire? Sometimes they share employees.
Yeah.
So that's happened a
We
couple
have
times.
seen that a couple of times.
Yeah.
And in regards to the kind of stage of when does a company come to MassRobotics, the right time is when they have a physical prototype and they want to build and iterate on that prototype.
Got it.
So our facilities behind us are just full of robotics tooling. We've got about 30 different robot arms. We have a CNC, a full machine shop. So all of the startups working in this space are actively building on their prototype. The vast majority of the startups from a stage perspective are in that seed range, and then we help them with first customers, first funding. The latest stage company that we have at MassRobotics is a Series B startup.
Oh, wow.
So it really runs the gamut. And right now we're sitting right at 100 residents, which is exciting.
That is wild.
Have we hit we're like always teetering.
I'll tell you, we probably have, because in the last couple of weeks, it seems like we get 4 inquiries a week on, can we join MassRobotics? What, this is what we're looking for. Can you provide us this, this, and this? And a lot of times it's connections to industry, it's connections to VCs, it's connections to talent, it's access to the machine shop. So those are kind of like the top 4.
Yeah.
But it's crazy. Like every time I open up my email, there's an inquiry about a new startup that's come from somewhere. Sometimes they're Massachusetts, but we just had a conversation with someone from India in a healthcare startup.
Oh, wow.
They're coming from all over.
Yeah.
So that speaks to your value. Like, when I meet with people, I say to them, well, what is the value of your product? And you explain some of that to me. Like, what do you think about that, Marita? What else? What are the other value propositions?
Yeah. So I used to think, and I've spent quite a bit of time in these sort of like entrepreneur support organization kind of work. And I do think that MassRobotics has a next level like connectivity and like really tightness of a community. So I almost don't want to say like our unique value is this phenomenal community that we've built, because it's almost like an intangible thing. But I actually do think that is what it is. We do a ton of one-to-one connections for our startups. And to Joyce's perspective, like all of these companies help each other. And oftentimes the makeup of our founders here, they like tend to be, they're really analytical, they're technical, they're not super extroverted, and like sometimes they need a little bit of a push. So when they're around like-minded people, it's like you see these beautiful friendships being made. Everyone, like I've never been in a work organization like this where people stop and have lunch together, and it's not just our team, it's all of our startups. Yeah. It's amazing. So I think like the fact, here's another thing, like when I first met you, like everyone wants to help MassRobotics. I think because we're a nonprofit, it's like a blanket of like, okay, we're good. You can help us because we're not here to get anything from you.
Right.
We're only here to help our companies that we work with, and we have such high quality companies. Like you should want to be a part of what we do.
We do get a lot of inbound people just wanting to come in and help.
Oh, that's awesome.
Hey, I have this kind of expertise. I'd love to come in and help the startups. Can I host office hours? Our pool of mentors is crazy good.
It's
right.
It's incredible. Like we have people who have, had big exits in the Boston robotics scene, who by no stretch of the imagination need to be like giving back to companies, but they do. Yeah. And they're really engaged. And like I am just, as someone who's built mentor communities before, like it's extremely impressive. And I feel like our breadth of sort of connectivity across the ecosystem is really strong.
Yeah. I mean, so there are companies that live within MassRobotics that live and work here every day. There are mentors who give their time back, but then we have the third component really, which is corporate partners.
Right.
So tell me a little bit about that program, like, you know, because honestly, like, you are a nonprofit, yet, you know, you need to have the corporate partners to really support the ecosystem. So corporate partners, you know, what is it that's interesting to them about MassRobotics? You know, tell me about that.
Yeah, I'd say the corporate partners are each one is so unique. They all are looking for something a little different. And what makes it really work is working with them to find out what is it you really need to get out. All of them, of course, funding is amazing and they're really, the majority of our funding comes from our corporate sponsors, so that helps us pay the bills here and operate, right? But we want them to feel like they're really valuable for us too, and they are. So we have, you know, I'll give you an example of Mitsubishi. So they came in and they looked in our lab and they didn't see any Mitsubishi arms. They saw some competitor arms. So they said, how do we get our arms in there so that the startups will use them? Become a partner. We'll help you, you know, promote your arm. We'll get you in front of manufacturing, you know, companies. We'll help you lead one of our signature series events. They actually have someone who sits in the lab a couple times a week.
Oh, wow.
Working on the arm, so that people who go into the lab and are using it, they have a helper right there. So they're in kind of working with the ecosystem. They also look into they look into investing in some of the companies. So they have invested in a company or two here.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So that's another kind of thing for them. So they want to get their collaborative arm out in industry and be visible. You know, others like, I'm trying to think of another, the MITRE Corporation.
Yeah.
They're very defense oriented, and so they want to be able to bring their clients who are the Army, Air Force, Navy. They want to be able to bring them in here to kind of showcase autonomy and some of the drone technologies. And so it's a space for them to kind of showcase innovation that's happening in Boston.
I mean, I think the way that we view ourselves in the ecosystem from we're sort of like, we're the bridge between corporate and startup. We can speak startup and we can speak corporate, and oftentimes they're misaligned on, you know, timelines or expectations or like scope of work. And I think we do a really good job of helping those large corporates learn how to work with startups in a meaningful way. A nice example is with Chewy. Which we all get. I'm a Chewy customer for my dog. We got Mandy over here. So Chewy's awesome. And they came to us because they needed help figuring out a solution that robotics could really play a huge role in. So they did a challenge, and we helped find a flurry of startups that they could work with. And they ended up working with one of our companies that's a resident of MassRobotics. And that's become a real POC. Yeah. I think a lot of times in corporate innovation, startups can kind of get stuck with innovation teams or marketing teams, and really the benefit for a startup is they want your business. Yeah. And they want to be able to figure out, like, can I build a really strong relationship with a corporate that could become a real customer of ours? And I think I like to see us as a bridge between those two entities. So we sort of like bring everyone to the table and set expectations and sort of set the playing field. Yeah, and another thing that corporates like is if they have a prototype coming out and they want it tested.
Oh, that's interesting.
So we did that with one of our corporate partners early on. They provided us some LiDARs, and they just wanted it to go to some startups and some universities to see how they would use it and get their feedback. So they got that feedback before they actually made it a full product. So that was kind of interesting.
I mean, all these corporates are like at the top of this discussion. You were like, the time is now. So like these startups need help, but also these large corporates need help in figuring out like what is their robotics and AI strategy.
Yeah, I
would
agree with that.
oftentimes these startups already have like the whole build it versus buy it. We are big believers of you should go buy it and work with startups.
Yeah, I mean, companies say to me all the time, like, we're going to do robotics. And I'm like, great. I'm like, add some time onto the timeline for that, because you could, you know, build the wheel yourself or buy the wheel and iterate and support a company that's doing that. So you probably see that all the time.
Yeah, we encourage it.
Yeah.
We do. And I think, No, I think if there's someone listening to this podcast thinking like, okay, how could I work with MassRobotics? Like, we do everything really bespoke. So all of our programming is really built to match a corporate sponsor's KPIs. What are they actually looking to accomplish? Yeah. We are a nonprofit, so I think it's a really nice feeling to think, you're donating your time or your money or whatever, but we need to make sure that this is like a net benefit to your organization too, not just for the startup.
Yeah, it's so a couple things. We always we have a prep call before we come into these. So on the prep call, you said something interesting to me, which as a former startup person, it was a feel good, because you're like, this is not a dog and pony show.
Oh yeah.
Like, this is real. And like, I got the sense that you keep startups safe and you make sure that the pilot purgatory doesn't happen.
Oh yeah.
So corporate sponsor gets what they need by setting, KPIs that work for everybody. And I was just like, wow, I'm like, we need MassRobotics for those types of programs.
Yeah, we do really try to understand what they need. And I think that's one of the beauties of what we do. We're not looking to get money out of the startups. We're not looking to get any equity in them. We just want to see them be successful. Yeah. So I always describe MassRobotics as a family, right? You get your kids when they're young. You kind of nurture them. You teach them how to be out in the real world. And at some point, they raise money and they hire people and they have to leave.
Series B, bye kids.
And it's a little sad when sometimes we're ready for them to go, but sometimes,
so
you
real.
know what? We all always, they always come back for Thanksgiving for a demo
they come
day
back to give
mentor.
back to our startups.
Oh, so that's a great point.
It's so nice.
I know one of our first residents was Real Time Robotics.
Oh, wow.
And they have since come back. They mentor our teams. Like, they are just such a supportive organization. So while they're not working in the halls of MassRobotics anymore, they still greatly give back. Right. And I think, to your point, Mandy, I've only been here for 2 years, so I'm not going to claim this. But Joyce and Tom have done just this amazing, you are totally right. Like, we're super supportive of our startups. We're protective of them. And we don't what's the word? Yeah, I guess it's just dog and pony.
Yeah.
We don't do that. We're really...
It's real.
Yeah, they're the busiest people.
Yeah.
The startup founders that are working in this space are way busier than us. And we really need to be protective of their time.
Yeah.
And give them legit opportunities,
Right. So when we have, someone who calls because they want to come in for a visit, they want to meet startups. Well, we say, so what's in it for the startup? Yeah. Why would I have the startup stop what they're doing to do a demo for you?
Yeah.
What are you offering them? Is it a possible funding? Is it possible? Or is it just that you're interested in learning for yourself? Because if that's the case, come to our block party. We do that once a year.
That's called industrial tourism.
Yes,
we do that.
Exactly. So we really protect them from people who are trying to come in and just learn from them. You really have to, like you said, protect their time. They are so busy. So that, between that and salespeople who want to come in and sell to them, we're very protective of them for that too.
Yeah.
So we will set up, office hours for people and that kind of thing. So if startups want to come, they can. Yeah. But we never, and some of them don't know they want to come, so we have to kind of lead them, just like a kid, right?
Yeah. No, well, that is to the bridge thing. A lot of the startups, let me try to think of a good example. I mean, it's kind of funny in the accelerator. It's absolutely everything's mandatory.
Yes.
So you can't not show up to something. It's mandatory. But when we host some of our office hours for our startups, we kind of do have to convince them that it's super valuable.
Yeah.
And we remind them, we're like, hey, we're not going to have you do anything that's not worth your time.
Right.
So you might as well do this, know? Yeah.
And I think they trust us that we're not going to ask them to sit through something if we don't think they're going to get something out of it.
Totally. So there's value.
They know we have their backs.
Yeah. One other thing, and this is something that I think is really important that came out of our planning call. And I can't remember if it was you, Joyce, you, Marita, but somebody said the U.S. needs robotics now more than ever. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's so true, but why have I not thought of it like that? So talk to me about how you're thinking about that and why.
So there's lots of topics. I'll just start. Why don't I start with...
This could be 2 hours.
Yes.
I'll do warehouse automation. Go.
I'll start with healthcare then.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
I have a daughter who's a nurse, and there's a shortage of nursing staff, and they're doing a lot of things that a robot could do.
I agree.
So they're running to get the drugs, they're running to get clean towels, why not have a robot do that? There actually are robots doing that, but we need to figure out how to get them adopted sooner. Yeah. That brings us to a whole other topic that could be another hour, which is standards.
Yes.
Standards around those robots in public places, and safety on those robots that are in public places. So, healthcare is just one industry, and actually we have quite a few healthcare companies that are working on wheelchair automation, moving patients off of a bed onto a cot, which nurses have to do now, right?
Yeah, you were just telling
surgical.
me your daughter was she has to physically move patients, and it's
right,
really
and
difficult.
Every time she has to move them back, she has to rehook up all of their machines, and it's a lot of work, and they have to actually call in another nurse to help them when they're doing a patient transfer or something like that. So that machine that we have here from Able Innovations would be awesome.
Yeah. But
now they're in that fundraising where they need money to be able to produce the robot, and there's that whole valley of death where you have a bunch of people who want what you're building, but now how do you get to manufacturing to build it?
Yes.
So again, we try to help with that bridge, but
yeah, I mean, so full transparency, I have been working within this robotics field for 2 years. That's it.
That means in dog years, that's 7 years a year.
Oh,
in startup
14 years.
So that's 14 years.
Thank God.
Yeah, just so you know.
I'm legit. Well, I've spent a lot of time with startups.
100 years.
So that's 100 years for you.
I'm really
we don't talk years.
But I've always been interested in robotics, and I've it's like my downstairs neighbor gets so many Amazon packages, it's obscene. And when I really think about how do we get our stuff, how do people living in the United States, all over the country, how do we actually get our things? And Amazon Robotics is amazing because they support Amazon in their wild, warehousing and delivery logistics system. But what is it, 80% of warehouses across the United States actually don't have any automation?
Yeah.
And I think the fact that that's a legitimate stat is pretty crazy. I think I love daydreaming about how robotics will be a part of our world. I don't really envision having a robot in my home do anything for me, but I do envision a robot replacing a human worker on in the world of agriculture.
Yeah, I agree.
Weeding robots, there are, oh my gosh, Joyce and I take pictures of things when we're out and about. The last picture I took, basically the pictures are, should a robot be doing that out in the wild? And we saw someone, suspended from a skyscraper cleaning windows. It's 3
you posted
people.
about that, Joyce, didn't you?
So I posted about that a couple of years ago when we were setting up for Robo Boston.
It's just really stuck with me.
We saw it in Atlanta.
We saw it again in Atlanta, and what the heck? A robot should be doing that. So I don't know. I think I just the United States. I feel it's the greatest country. I feel so proud to be here. I love living here. I love the ingenuity of Americans and all the people who live here. And I think for us to really stay ahead and continue tracking, we need to be doing much more in robotics.
But think about that, those 3 people we saw suspended. If that was a robot doing it, you'd still need a person to deploy it up above. You'd still need someone to be repairing it. You still need someone to develop it, to manufacture it.
Yeah.
So actually you're creating jobs by
creating jobs and also creating safety.
There you go.
Yeah.
And ag was another big one, right? So think about 150 years ago, a huge portion of the population were in agriculture.
Yeah.
Now you have lots of large machines that kind of do the seeding and the weeding and all that. But if that could be automated, you could use drones for spraying.
I'm going to pick on another startup that I'm obsessed with right now, Blue Water Autonomy. They're out of stealth, so we can talk about them now. They are founded by one of our mentors in the MassRobotics community, and they are creating fully autonomous naval ships.
That's awesome.
They're completely unmanned. I think I will probably screw up the quote, but I think it's like 120 feet long boats that are traveling the open ocean. And like our Navy needs that, right?
Yeah, I agree.
So I just think like robotics and physical AI is going to just have it. I can't wait. I'm like excited to age to see what happens.
So the other one that I filmed was I was in the airplane looking out, watching the baggage come off, and watching like the 4 guys down below picking up the luggage, throwing it onto that little thing that then someone's driving to go to where they have to be offloaded. But the guys down there were just all goofing off, and one's throwing them, the suitcase lands on the ground, scrapes, puts it in the thing. That can all be automated. And my kids are like, why are you filming that? I said, because a robot should be doing that.
Oh, nice.
This is a LinkedIn post, kids. No, I mean, it's interesting. Like getting into robots, like, decades ago, right? It was always like a reporter was coming to see you, and the question you did not want to have is, this thing is taking jobs.
Right,
and
right.
we were all like, PR trained to how to, but I mean, I don't think you can even, a reporter cannot even show up and say that anymore.
No.
What do you think?
I think robots are creating jobs.
Yeah.
They're higher value jobs. So now we have to think about how do we retrain people or youth to kind of go into those fields.
Yeah.
Because it's not flipping hamburgers. There's going to be a robot could easily do that.
Oh, for sure.
But maybe it's spending more times with the customers that are in there and being more of a human.
Yeah.
Right? Than
I
doing.
mean, it's like I've got a nice sample size of just our 20 startups from our accelerator. There's just 20 of them. We've been running this program for 2 years, so they're pretty, young still in their development. And they've already hired, I think it's 120 people.
Oh, wow.
Across those 20 startups. So that's like that's pretty legitimate, I'd say.
I mean, this is a cohort from this winter, yes?
Yeah.
So 2 cohorts.
Yeah, 2 cohorts. They've hired about 120 people.
That's a great stat.
Thank you.
Good job, Marita.
That's a great program. It really is. I mean, if you think about, what government, industry, and academia need to do to ensure the U.S. can maintain, their good standing. Like, what do you guys think about that? What do we need here to make sure that we continue to excel?
There's a couple things. I mean, if you look at some of the other countries, Korea, Japan, like their governments are putting a lot of money into robotics and robotic centers and AI. So that's one area. I think another is policy and making sure that our senators and our policy makers are understanding what startups need and what is needed for the industry. A lot of times, technology is way before a policy is made. And so how do we make sure that the politicians are educated and know kind of what won't stifle advancement? So, we are working on a couple of working groups that are kind of helping with that. One is actually next month. We're working with ASTM on should there be standards for robots in public places.
Yeah.
So how do we just start getting that ball rolling so that people start thinking about it and how does a car or a robot interact with a human so the human understands what the robot's doing, and what can the human do to make sure that the robot understands what it's doing, and make that like a standard thing. Like we all understand a stoplight. When the stoplight is red, we know we have to stop, right? When it's yellow, we should slow down, unless you're in Boston and you speed up.
I was going to say, I'm like, what city this is, Joyce, right?
But we all know that, right? And it's a standard.
It's a standard.
So how do we do something like that in the interface between robots and humans who are in public spaces like airports and hospitals and restaurants and the streets?
I love all of that. I'm looking forward to the meeting next month.
Yeah.
I think another aspect is just the lab to market sort of commercialization pipeline. So we have some of the most amazing universities here in Boston, in the US, of course, but like in Boston alone, like how many do we have? You always like this one.
Oh my gosh, there's I think 65 within a 30-mile radius of Boston.
Yeah.
65 universities. It's
wow.
crazy.
People traveling all over the world. Like we have the best and brightest minds in the world that come to Boston to build and develop. And if we're able to help Sorry, there's a bug flying next to me.
It's the summer.
That's right.
If we're able to help really evangelize entrepreneurship and make it a little less scary for folks, I think that's a really nice win. Even this past week, so one of my former bosses and mentors in my life, it does a lot of work around SBIR reform. And right now, I'm supporting a bill to make SBIRs really different. So there's going to be a special SBIR, and for those who are listening who don't really know this, it's non-dilutive work with the government. So you're building dual-use technologies.
Oh, wow.
Ideally, you have a defense use case, but you also have a commercial use case, and it's non-dilutive, and it's pretty attractive.
Mm-hmm.
And there should be more paths to entry for people who have this amazing technology, but might not envision themselves having the grueling life of an entrepreneur, right? And I think if our government can help provide grant opportunities, funding opportunities for researchers to just explore and develop, like, is there a commercial path here for whatever I'm building? We don't want all of our technology to stay in the lab. We want it to be commercialized.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's very interesting, right? Because when you're in it, when you're the founder of a company, you're in it and you have blinders on and you're sitting here and you're just going as fast as you can. So I think it's so important that you can be here as kind of that outside voice, kind of seeing all the things and kind of bringing in that expertise.
Yeah, back to the SBIR thing. When we see, so our startups typically won't even think about looking at those opportunities. And so when we see something come in, we actually will direct a specific one to a specific startup and say, okay, move that blinder, look this way. This is something that you're already doing.
Right.
So why not?
Yeah, and it's so challenging for robotics companies to raise money. Like, Amanda, you have so much expertise in this.
It's hard.
It's really difficult. And if you can go after non-dilutive programming or working with the government, I mean, also like the U.S., like the military of the U.S. government they could be the biggest customer you ever have.
Yeah.
And if you're already building something for a commercial application, you might as well get some customer traction with the government. I think the way that like SBIRs should be thought of is like the biggest seed investor in the country, because they have like, I don't know, I remember a couple years ago, it was like literally $1 billion that they have to deploy on an annual basis. And I think SBIR is a really cool way for startups to think about how to get going.
Yeah. I mean, and so I'm going to kind of start to close us down a little bit, because I could sit here and talk to you guys forever because these are, but you know,
Just need a few margaritas.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you should catch us on some of the other days. Maybe we'll film that next time. I mean, so I always love sitting down with you guys because you love what you do, and it is so evident in every single conversation that we have together. So, I mean, in your perspective, what has been the most rewarding thing for you guys? And you're probably like, well, there's a list, but...
Yeah. You know what? Again, I go back to it's like a family. Yeah. So when our startups are successful, we feel like if we had a small part in their journey, if we made one introduction, helped them find one hire, like we feel, think about it, you're so proud of them, right? You're so proud of your kids when they move out. You're proud of your startups when they move out. So when they're successful, we're successful. But every once in a while, we'll get an email out of the blue from a startup who's successful, and they'll say, I remember back when blah, 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 and you introduced me or you shared that SBIR with me. That helped launch my technology. Wow. Or that, you know, we also got one recently of someone who had to shut down. And the note that he sent us, actually, Colleen and I were both in tears.
I think I talked to you that day.
Right. It was beautiful. It was like, you guys are like family to me. My next startup, I will come. You got me to where I am. I just have to be with my family now. Yeah. So it was it was a special case. But just there's so many nice emails that we get from people. It's really rewarding.
That's super rewarding. Yeah, I mean, like I just really believe in entrepreneurs. I just think entrepreneurs are the people who are going to help us. Like entrepreneurs are the ones that are doing the work now that we will benefit from years to come. I had kind of a funny, I've been working with startups for 10 years. I became a bit of a work nihilist for a couple years.
I remember you telling me that, and I started laughing because I so don't see you. Like,
well,
I've
no,
known you
I'm
for a couple
definitely
years.
not like that anymore. So, but I really was like, wow. But I was in this cycle of like getting these jobs where I was like kind of, and I had great positions, but it was like I was always selling something. I was always like trying to get something from a startup instead of just being there to be like an unbiased help. And I really appreciate this position in this organization because like we're just here to be a friend.
Yeah.
And also we're breaking down like pretty legit barriers.
You are.
I think our MassRobotics team comes with really diverse experiences. Tom Ryden led sales at iRobot, built his own robotics company, sold that. This is his retirement job, I guess. Don't tell him.
That's a whole nother story.
Okay, we'll save that for later. But and Joyce has this crazy background, and myself, like I have a great startup connections in general, and I think all of us bring something different to the table. But like, yeah, I believe in entrepreneurs. I used to think I wanted to be one, and then I saw just how much work it is.
It's a little bit of work.
So with you, this is back to how rewarding it is. So
Yeah.
sometimes she's sitting at her desk behind me, and I'll hear like a little like, "Ooh!"
Oh my God.
And I'm like, "What is that?" And you're like, "Oh my gosh, BirdBot just got this PO or blah blah blah." Like,
yeah,
you get
okay.
so excited.
Yeah, speaking of BirdBot is a startup that is, them.
Yeah, I
they
remember
do
them, yeah.
robotic.
Yeah.
They're like a robotic kitchen in a box, and they
Yeah.
do flash fried food.
Yeah.
Going back to the SBIR thing, they are going after an SBIR. They're
Really?
like a chicken nugget machine. So, like, when in doubt,
for
look
everybody.
into working
really good,
with the
though.
government. But yeah, I think we're just so lucky to have people like yourself, like Katie, who are involved in MassRobotics.
Yep. Katie behind the camera, everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like Katie, like it's just such a great ecosystem of people, and I also think everyone's so just
Real, down to earth.
just
Yeah.
very nice. It's just been it's so refreshing because I really was such a work nihilist. I was like, I'm here for my paycheck, and I really was like that for a couple years. And I actually took a big break, and I said, what do I actually want to be doing? I want to return to what I really care about, which is helping founders. They're the most important people. Yeah.
I agree. So, well, before we close, I do have something for you both.
Oh.
We already got presents.
Well, this is something that
Here's the margaritas.
Oh God.
I wish. I thought about it, and I was like, I knew you had a meeting at 5:00 today, and I was like, I can't get them drunk. So, when I think about you guys,
Oh my gosh.
here's something that, and Joyce, go ahead and read that to us.
Read it.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, she's got to get her reading glasses.
It ain't easy being a badass.
Wow.
Yeah,
It is
so,
not easy.
No. So,
But
I
it
mean,
is fun.
Love it. Oh my God.
But there was
Crazy.
a need in
Wow.
the industry.
Oh, this is so
and
cool.
I mean, 2015, you said we need this thing,
awesome. It's
and you
awesome.
haven't given up. You've grown it. You've
love
worked
it.
with industry colleagues, all these things. And then fast forward to 2 years ago, right? What year was that? 2023.
Yeah.
2023. Marita is on Joyce's board,
Oh my gosh.
and she says, "Here, hold my tiara."
Oh my
And
gosh.
just gets going.
Wow,
What does it say?
Mandy, hold my tiara. Oh my gosh, this is absolutely incredible.
And now I
Yeah.
hold hers.
yeah. Wow, thank you so much.
And this is
I love it.
a women-led brand that makes trophies to empower other women, and you're women in the industry, and fantastic colleagues of mine.
This is amazing.
Well,
Thanks for giving back to us.
Yes.
You really do.
appreciate it. All you guys both do.
Yeah. No, you
Katie.
two are rocking it, and I feel really privileged and lucky to have these awesome relationships.
Yeah, this network is awesome, and honestly, when I call you with a crazy idea like, "Hey, you want to be on this podcast?" Thank you for not hanging up the phone. And honestly,
Well, when we call you
the
and say,
highlight of our
listen,
week.
we need margaritas, we have something to talk about.
Which we literally did 2
I
weeks
walked
ago.
right over. It was supposed to be coffee,
It was supposed to be coffee.
and next thing you know, you're having a margarita.
But you get more
man.
creative when you have margaritas.
Yeah, I
That's
think
what
so
you
too.
think,
And
Joyce.
I
saying.
think we had a pretty good plan.
Oh man.
Yeah,
Well-
so thank you so much for having us.
No,
and
thank you. Joyce Sadopoulos,
sharing our story.
Marita McGinn, thank you so much for joining today.
Thanks, Mandy.
And Mandy Dwight and Company, host of ROS Goss. I hope that you enjoyed us today. But we'll be back for more episodes because this was really fun.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mandy.
Thanks, guys.
See ya.